Where's my lucky star pendant? Genevieve Thorne's voice, usually a melodic hum in her luxury penthouse, now sliced through the air like shattered glass. Her gaze, sharp and accusatory, darted across the opulent 300-square-meter living space until it landed on Michael Davies, who was meticulously polishing the marble fireplace. The 30-year-old man paused, his cleaning cloth still, and met her enraged glare directly. "I don't know anything about a pendant, Miss Thorne." "Of course you do." Genevieve lunged toward him, her face a mask of scarlet fury. "You are the only one who had access to my dressing room today. A 75,000-pound diamond pendant doesn't just vanish." Michael stood tall, his hands still firmly gripping the cloth. Working for Elite Sparkle Services for 4 years had taught him to navigate the eccentricities of his wealthy clients. But something in Genevieve's tone today was different, more venomous, more personal. "I can empty my bag if that makes you feel better," he offered calmly, though a familiar pang of indignation tightened his chest. "Oh, you'll certainly be emptying it." Genevieve snatched her phone. "And the police will take a look too. People like you always think they can prey on hard-working individuals like me." It was at that moment that a desperate wail echoed through the apartment. Genevieve's baby, little 9-month-old Zara, was in her nursery, crying with an intensity that made Michael frown. This wasn't normal crying from hunger or sleep. It was something deeper, more distressing. "Your daughter's crying," he observed. Genevieve didn't even glance towards the nursery door. "The nanny handles that. Now, open that bag." But the crying only intensified, a guttural sob that Michael couldn't ignore. Breaking all cleaning protocols, he walked to the nursery. What he saw shocked him. Zara was alone, her diaper soiled, her face red and tear-streaked from hours of neglect, and no nanny in sight. "Hey there, little one," Michael whispered, approaching carefully. His instincts, honed from caring for his younger siblings, took over. "What's going on?" He quickly checked on Zara, changed her diaper, and gently picked her up. In a matter of seconds, the baby stopped crying completely, nestling into his arms as if she had finally found the comfort she so desperately needed. "What in the blazes are you doing?" Genevieve appeared at the door, still clutching her phone. "Put my daughter down this instant." Michael carefully handed Zara over, but the moment Genevieve took her, the baby erupted into intense sobs again. Genevieve tried rocking her, cooing at her, but nothing worked. Zara seemed inconsolable in her own mother's arms. "I don't understand," Genevieve muttered, clearly frustrated. "She stopped crying with you in seconds." Babies sense tension. Michael explained simply. When adults are nervous or aggressive, they notice. Genevieve stared at him with a mix of surprise and irritation. "Are you implying I'm a bad mother?" "I'm just explaining why your daughter calmed down with me." For a brief moment, something shifted in Genevieve's gaze, a flicker of curiosity, perhaps even a hint of respect. But it vanished just as quickly, replaced by her usual arrogance. "Well, what a convenient coincidence," she drawled, her voice heavy with sarcasm. "The same person who didn't see my pendant also has a magic touch with babies. A perfectly crafted diversion, wouldn't you say?" Michael took a deep breath. For years, he had swallowed prejudiced comments, suspicious glances, and veiled accusations. But this time, something felt different. This time, he wasn't going to back down. "Miss Thorne," he said, his voice calm but firm, "let me be crystal clear. I did not take your pendant. And if you're determined to accuse me without proof, I suggest you call the police. I'm sure they'll be very interested in investigating everything." His tone made Genevieve hesitate. There was something about Michael's confidence, the unwavering way he held her gaze, that made her slightly uneasy, as if he knew something she didn't. "That's right," Michael continued, gathering his cleaning supplies. "A full investigation. Security cameras, entry logs, history, everything." Genevieve watched him work with precise, calculated movements, like someone who had absolutely nothing to hide. Worse, like someone who had perhaps been waiting for this very moment. What Genevieve couldn't imagine was that this false accusation had just awakened something in Michael that had been dormant for years. And when you underestimate someone who has been through far worse, you're not just making a mistake, you're writing your own tragic ending. Michael's unshakable confidence unsettled Genevieve for only a few seconds. Soon her natural arrogance reasserted control, and she completely misinterpreted his calmness. Full investigation? Genevieve laughed cruelly. Perfect. The more evidence, the better. She typed frantically on her phone. I'm sending a message to the entire Elite Sparkle Services team. I want them to know exactly what kind of employee you are. Michael continued organizing his materials, but his jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. He knew this pattern all too well. During 4 years of cleaning for the city's elite, he had witnessed dozens of similar situations. Missing, objects that magically reappeared after the domestic worker had been publicly humiliated. In fact, Genevieve continued, clearly emboldened by her own venom. I'm going to post this on my social media as well. I need to warn other employers about people like you. Something changed in the air when Genevieve uttered those last words. Michael stopped moving completely, his eyes meeting hers with an intensity that made the businesswoman take an involuntary step back. People like me, he repeated slowly. How interesting. And what kind of person am I, Miss Thorne? Genevieve hesitated, realizing she had stepped onto dangerous ground, but her ego wouldn't allow her to back down. People who take advantage of others' trust, who think they can walk into family homes and steal. Michael finished for her. Is that what you were trying to say? Genevieve's phone vibrated. A message from her lawyer, Samantha. Meeting canceled. Urgent family matter. Genevieve ignored it, too focused on her personal crusade to notice the first sign that her day was about to collapse. You know what's interesting, Miss Thorne? Michael closed his cleaning caddy with precise movements. In 4 years of working for families like yours, this is the first time someone has accused me of theft. First time you got caught. Genevieve retorted with disdain. Or the first time someone lost something and automatically blamed the only black person in the room. The words came out with an icy calm that made Genevieve swallow hard. Genevieve's phone vibrated again, then once more. She ignored it, determined to maintain control of a situation that was clearly slipping through her fingers. Listen here. Genevieve approached him, trying to intimidate him with her physical presence. I've known people like you forever. You come in with this dignified attitude, but deep down what? Michael turned completely toward her, and for the first time Genevieve noticed something in his eyes that made her question whether she had chosen the wrong person to humiliate. Zara began to cry again from the nursery, but this time neither of them moved. The tension in the apartment had become almost palpable. I'll tell you something about people like me, Michael said, picking up his satchel. We grow up learning that the truth always comes out. Always. And when it does, those who lied pay a very high price. Genevieve laughed forcedly. Are you threatening me? I'm just letting you know how the real world works. Michael walked toward the door. Oh, and Miss Thorne, I suggest you check your pockets and maybe your car. People like you have a habit of blaming others for their own mistakes. Genevieve's phone exploded in a flurry of notifications. This time she looked. 15 missed messages, 4 missed calls, all from her office. Where do you think you're going? She shouted after Michael. The police are on their way. Excellent. He replied, standing in the doorway. I love the police, especially when they see the building's security cameras. Genevieve frowned. What cameras? The cameras that show everything that happens in the hallways, elevators, and parking lot of this building. The same ones that will show I arrived here at 8 this morning and haven't left once since. And, more importantly, the ones that will show where you really lost your pendant. That's when Genevieve started to sweat. Not just because of what Michael said, but because of how he said it, like someone who already knew exactly what those cameras would reveal. Her phone rang. The name on the screen made her blood cold. Private Investigator, Lucas Vance. Urgent. Excuse me, Michael said politely. I need to find my next client. But don't worry, Miss Thorne, I'm sure we'll get to the bottom of this today. As he disappeared down the hallway, Genevieve finally answered the phone with trembling hands. Miss Thorne? Lucas's voice was tense. "We need to talk right away. It's about your husband, Oliver Sterling." Genevieve felt the world spin. "My husband? He's out of the country." "That's exactly what we need to talk about." Each new humiliation only fueled something inside Michael that his oppressors couldn't see, a silent strength being tempered by the very injustice they tried to impose on him. What Genevieve Thorne didn't know was that every act of contempt was writing her own sentence of defeat, while the man she was trying to destroy carried secrets that would turn her perfect life to ashes. The call from the private investigator completely changed Genevieve's tone. "What do you mean it's about my husband, Oliver? Oliver is in Tokyo for a conference." "Miss Thorne, I need you to sit down. Your husband is not in Tokyo. He has been in Barbados for 2 weeks with another man." Genevieve's world collapsed in a matter of seconds. "That's impossible. He calls me every day." "The calls are made from his cell phone, but through apps that mask the location. I have photos, resort records, and other undeniable evidence." While Genevieve processed her husband's betrayal, Michael was in the building's parking lot, making a call to his brother, Kwame. "Hey, I need a favor. Remember that corporate security course I took before I moved here?" "Sure. You were top of the class. Why?" "I need you to contact our old instructor, Detective Aisha Khan. Tell her Michael Davies needs a little professional courtesy." Kwame hesitated. "Bro, are you in trouble?" "Not yet," Michael smiled, watching the building's security cameras. "But someone else will be very soon." What no one knew about Michael was that before moving to the UK, he had worked for 5 years as a corporate intelligence analyst in Jamaica. He wasn't just a cleaning man. He was a man with a degree in cybersecurity and a passion for forensic analysis, who had chosen flexible cleaning jobs to support his online graduate studies in financial fraud investigation. 30 minutes later, Detective Aisha Khan returned his call. "Michael Davies, my star former student. What can I do for you?" "I need legal access to the security footage from a building, and maybe a little investigation into a woman named Genevieve Thorne." "Leave it to me. How soon do you need it?" 2 hours would be perfect." Meanwhile, Genevieve was trying to deal simultaneously with the revelation about her husband and the police, who had finally arrived to investigate the pendant's theft. The two officers, Detective Reynolds and Detective Mitchell, listened to her version of events with increasingly skeptical expressions. "So you're saying a cleaning man stole your pendant? And you're not sure when or how?" Detective Reynolds jotted down notes on his pad. "He was the only person who entered my dressing room today." "And where exactly did you last see the pendant?" Genevieve hesitated. The truth was, she couldn't remember. With all the confusion of the last few days, meetings, travel, problems with Zara's nanny, her routine was completely out of whack. "I always leave it on the vanity." Detective Mitchell raised an eyebrow. "Always? Are you absolutely certain about that?" Just then, Genevieve's phone rang again. "Genevieve, I just got a very strange call. Someone is asking questions about you at the office. Questions about your professional conduct, your employment history. Are you under investigation for something?" Genevieve's stomach lurched. "What kind of questions?" "About how you treat employees, if there have been any complaints of discrimination." The line went dead. Genevieve tried to call back, but it went straight to voicemail. The police continued their investigation when Detective Reynolds received a message. "Miss Thorne, we just received an interesting report." The building security cameras show the employee arriving at 8 in the morning and not leaving until now. They also show you leaving last night at 11:30 p.m. and returning today at 7:45 a.m. And what's the problem? The problem, Detective Mitchell continued, is that the same cameras show you dropping something in the parking lot last night when you got out of your car. Something that glinted quite brightly in the light. Genevieve's face paled. "That doesn't prove anything." "Actually, it does. The building security team found this an hour ago." Detective Reynolds showed her a clear plastic bag containing a diamond pendant. "It was right under your car, Miss Thorne." The humiliation was complete. Genevieve had accused an innocent man of theft when she herself had carelessly lost her pendant. But the worst was yet to come. Detective Aisha Khan called Michael with information that made him smile for the first time in weeks. "Michael, you won't believe what I found out about this Genevieve Thorne. She has a history of 3 racial discrimination lawsuits in the last 5 years, all settled out of court with strict gag orders. And there's more. Go on. Her investment firm is being investigated by the Serious Fraud Office for questionable financial practices. And from the looks of it, she's about to lose everything. Her husband, Oliver, is filing for divorce and demanding half her assets, citing moral turpitude. The woman is desperate." Michael processed the information carefully. Genevieve Thorne wasn't just a prejudiced woman, she was a prejudiced, desperate woman with a history of discriminatory behavior. Exactly the kind of person who needed a very public lesson. "Detective Khan, I need one more favor. Do you still have contacts in the investigative press?" "Yes, I do." "Why?" "Because a story is about to be told, and this time it will be told correctly, from the right perspective." When Genevieve was finally alone in her apartment after the police left, she stared at the pendant she had recovered. For a moment, she considered calling the cleaning company and apologizing. But her wounded pride roared louder. He may have proven he didn't steal the pendant. She muttered to herself, "But he's still just a cleaning man. What harm can he possibly do to me?" That question would be answered very, very soon. Because while Genevieve completely underestimated the man she had humiliated, Michael was 3 steps ahead, orchestrating a life lesson that would make Genevieve rethink every prejudiced choice she had ever made. What Genevieve couldn't imagine was that her arrogant question, "What harm can a cleaning man do to me?" was about to become the greatest irony of her privileged life. Genevieve spent the afternoon trying to control the damage, like a captain attempting to plug holes in a sinking ship. Her husband, Oliver, wasn't answering his phone. Her lawyer, Samantha, had mysteriously vanished. And 4 major clients had canceled contracts after receiving worrying information about her professional conduct. At 5 p.m., her phone rang with an unknown number. "Miss Thorne, this is Chloe Evans from Channel 9 News Investigative Unit. We are preparing a major story on workplace discrimination and would very much like your side of some extremely serious allegations." "What allegations?" Genevieve felt cold sweat trickle down her back. "We have documented evidence of 3 racial discrimination cases in the last 5 years, all settled with very generous non-disclosure agreements. And today, we received an extremely detailed account of an incident involving an Afro-Caribbean employee." Genevieve hung up on the reporter, but the phone immediately rang again. This time it was James, her senior partner, his voice laced with panic. "Genevieve, what in God's name is going on? The press is calling the office asking about discrimination lawsuits. I just got a strange call from someone saying, 'Your firm has a systematic pattern of problematic behavior with black employees.'" While Genevieve tried to explain the inexplicable, Michael sat comfortably in a chic cafe 3 blocks away, talking to Detective Aisha Khan and an imposing woman. "Michael, this is Dr. Maya Singh, one of the most respected civil rights attorneys in the country. She personally represented the 3 female employees who previously sued Genevieve Thorne's firm." Dr. Singh opened an impressively thick file on the table. "Mr. Davies, your situation is virtually identical to the other cases. Black employees, completely false accusations, clear attempts at intimidation, and public humiliation. The crucial difference is that you documented absolutely everything in real time." "How so?" she asked with professional curiosity. "Your phone was recording during the entire incident today. Did you plan this?" Michael smiled for the first time in weeks. "Let's just say that years of working as a corporate intelligence analyst in Jamaica taught me to always be prepared, especially when I start noticing extremely suspicious patterns of behavior." Detective Aisha Khan chuckled admiringly. "You planned this from the beginning?" "Not exactly from the beginning, but when I started working for elite families, I quickly realized I needed to protect myself from situations like this. I research all my clients thoroughly before accepting any job. When I saw Miss Thorne's troubled history, I set my phone to automatically record whenever I'm working on her property." Dr. Singh took another document from the file, and there's much more. The building security footage clearly shows that she blatantly lied to the police about several crucial details of the incident. We have her red-handed for making a false report. At that very moment, Genevieve was facing the worst professional nightmare of her privileged life. The firm's board of directors had convened an emergency meeting after receiving a devastatingly comprehensive dossier on her history of discrimination. Genevieve? Isabella Chen, the board chair, began, her voice devoid of warmth. I see we have received some extremely troubling documentation, not just about the previous labor lawsuits, but about an incident that happened today that was completely recorded. This is total nonsense. You falsely accused a male employee of theft based solely on the fact that he is black, interrupted another board member. And this entire conversation was recorded without your knowledge. 37 minutes of crystal clear audio. Genevieve felt the world collapse around her as Isabella slid a tablet across the table. On the screen, her own voice was unmistakably clear. People like you always think you can take advantage of hard-working people like me. And then, I've known people like you forever. That's completely out of context. Is it? Isabella continued playing the recording because we have the entire conversation, including you saying verbatim that you're going to alert other employers about people like him. Genevieve's phone vibrated with a notification that made her blood cold. Channel 9 News on Twitter. Coming up, elite executive has history of systemic discrimination exposed by employee who documented everything. Special broadcast at 7 p.m. Genevieve. Isabella closed the tablet with a sharp click. The board has decided unanimously. You are suspended indefinitely, effective immediately, and we strongly recommend you seek legal assistance. At 7 p.m., Genevieve was alone in her penthouse apartment, watching her life be methodically torn apart on national television. Reporter Chloe Evans was live. A new case shocks the community as exclusive recordings reveal the systematically discriminatory behavior of Genevieve Thorne, a senior executive at one of the city's largest investment firms. The full audio was played in its entirety. Every prejudiced word, every false accusation, every attempt at intimidation was exposed for the entire city to hear. Genevieve's phone exploded with notifications, clients canceling contracts, acquaintances expressing deep concern, her social and professional life disintegrating in real time. The coup de grace came at 9 p.m. when Oliver finally called from Barbados. Genevieve, I'm watching the news here at the resort. My lawyer, Samantha, says this drastically complicates our separation. Oliver, please listen. No, Genevieve. For years, I swallowed your jokes about employees, your comments about certain people. I thought it was just your quirky personality. But this reveals exactly who you truly are. You can't abandon me now. The divorce settlement has completely changed. My lawyer, Samantha, wants 50% of absolutely everything, including your share of the firm. After all, who's going to want to do business with a woman who appears on national television talking like that about black employees? While Genevieve faced the total collapse of her privileged existence, Michael was quietly at home preparing dinner. Detective Aisha Khan called with a final report that made him smile with genuine satisfaction. The National Civil Rights Bureau is opening a formal investigation into her firm. The Serious Fraud Office has expedited the tax audit after the public exposure, and Dr. Maya Singh has successfully reopened the cases of the other 3 employees. His phone rang again. Michael Davies, this is Ethan Clark from Integrity Solutions Global. We are an internationally renowned corporate security and intelligence firm. We saw your story in the news and would love to talk to you about a position as a senior investigative analyst with a starting salary of £85,000 a year. Genevieve Thorne had discovered in the most humiliating way possible that underestimating someone based on prejudice not only revealed her own rotten character, but it created the perfect scenario for her own complete destruction. When you deliberately choose to humiliate a person who has all the tools necessary to defend themselves, you're not just committing an injustice. You're handing them all the weapons they need to completely rewrite your story and reduce your arrogance to ashes. 6 months later, Michael Davies sat in his office on the 28th floor of Integrity Solutions Global, supervising a team of 15 analysts. The panoramic view of the city stretched out through the glass windows, a stark contrast to the apartments he used to clean. Mr. Davies. His assistant, Liam Green, announced over the intercom, "Reporter Chloe Evans is here for the interview about the Justice Advocate of the Year award." The public recognition had come as a surprise. His courage in documenting and exposing Genevieve's discriminatory behavior had inspired other victims to come forward, creating a wave of change in the city's labor policies. "Michael." Chloe smiled as she entered. "How does it feel to know that your story changed the law on protective recordings for domestic workers and service professionals?" "Satisfied, but not surprised. The truth always finds a way to the surface, especially when you give it a little help," Michael replied with a confident smile that had become his trademark. His investigative firm had grown exponentially. Clients came specifically asking for the man who took down Thorne. 5 large corporations hired him for internal discrimination audits, paying fees that exceeded his former cleaning salary tenfold. Meanwhile, across town, Genevieve Thorne pushed a shopping cart through a suburban supermarket. Her fall had been brutal and complete. The firm had fired her permanently. Oliver had taken half her assets in the divorce, and no reputable firm would hire her after her national exposure. The penthouse apartment had been sold to pay legal bills. Now she lived in a small studio in the suburbs, relying on temporary jobs to survive. Her presence on social media had become a classic example of how not to treat employees. Business students used her case as a study in the consequences of corporate prejudice. "Mummy, why is that man on TV talking about you?" asked Zara, now 2.5, during one of the rare visits Oliver allowed. Genevieve didn't know how to explain to her daughter that she had become synonymous with corporate injustice. Channel 9 regularly aired Michael's story as part of a series on overcoming adversity and social justice. That same afternoon, Michael received an unexpected call. "Mr. Davies, this is Samuel Grant from Global Governance Partners. I have some interesting news. Genevieve Thorne tried to get a job at our firm." "Really?" Michael laughed genuinely. "She was, of course, turned down immediately. But I thought you might like to know that she mentioned your name during the interview. She said she learned a valuable lesson and that she deeply respected your professionalism." "She respected my professionalism?" Michael repeated, savoring the irony. How interesting. Learning to respect people after losing everything. The transformation in Michael's life had transcended the professional realm. He had bought his parents a house in Jamaica, paid for 3 siblings to go to university, and established a foundation to support service workers who were victims of discrimination. His most recent cases included exposing a labor exploitation scheme in millionaire households and investigating a network of employers who shared blacklists of employees based on racial prejudice. "Mr. Grant," Michael continued, "I think Miss Thorne really learned something important. Unfortunately, she learned it too late." 3 days later, Michael was speaking at a university when a student raised their hand. "Mr. Davies, have you ever felt the urge to take personal revenge on the woman who humiliated you?" Personal revenge, Michael thought for a moment. No. The best revenge was to build something bigger than she could ever imagine. "While she lost everything because of her prejudices, I gained a career, a life mission, and the satisfaction of knowing that my story protects other people." The audience applauded enthusiastically. Michael had become a symbol of how to turn injustice into purpose, humiliation into motivation. That night, while reviewing contracts in his office, Michael received a message on LinkedIn. It was from a young black engineer, Derek. "Mr. Davies, your story inspired me not to give up when I faced discrimination at my office. Today I got my promotion. Thank you for showing me that truth and determination always win." Michael smiled as he put his phone away. This was the true measure of his success, not just his own transformation, but how many other lives he had positively impacted. Genevieve Thorne had tried to destroy him based solely on the color of his skin and the assumption that people like him couldn't defend themselves. Ironically, by attacking him, she had given Michael all the tools he needed to build an empire based on protecting others like him. Justice had been served perfectly. While Genevieve humbly learned that prejudice has devastating consequences, Michael thrived, proving that true strength lies not in subjugating others, but in lifting them up. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying those who hurt you. It's building something so great that their evil becomes completely irrelevant. Genevieve tried to humiliate a cleaning man and ended up creating one of the most respected investigators in the country.